Welcome to the Explainer. The global economy in 2026 is a real paradox. On one hand, it's showing this incredible strength after years of, well, chaos. But on the other hand, there are some new dangers lurking just under the surface. So today, we're going to dig into this really delicate balance of resilience and fragility to figure out what's really going on.
So let's start with the big number everyone is talking about, 2.9%. That's the OECD's growth forecast for the global economy in 2026. Now, I know what you're thinking, 2.9%, that doesn't sound all that exciting. But believe me, behind that one little number is a huge story of surprising resilience against some major economic headwinds. I mean, just think about what the global economy has been through lately, right? We've had trade tensions, skyrocketing interest rates, all sorts of geopolitical drama. Honestly, by all accounts, things should be struggling. But instead, it's proving to be remarkably tough, just holding steady with what economists call trend-like growth. Basically, it's right where it should be. But, and this is a big but, here's the catch. While everything looks pretty steady on the surface, there's a whole different story playing out underneath. A lot of experts are starting to sound the alarm about new fragilities. We're talking about things like government debt, super volatile markets, and the threat of inflation that just won't go away, any of which could really shatter this fragile piece.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the good news, what's actually driving this resilience. Then we'll flip the coin and look at the warning signs. After that, we'll zoom in on how different parts of the world are handling all this. And we'll wrap up with what policymakers can actually do to navigate the road ahead. So let's dive right into this central paradox, this idea that the economy is both strong and incredibly vulnerable at the exact same time. Really, understanding this tension is the key to understanding the forecast for 2026. So, what's the secret sauce here? What is the secret to the economy's surprising strength? Let's take a look at the engines that are keeping everything running. So, there are a few key things fueling this growth. First up, there's just a massive wave of investment in tech, especially in AI. Second, financial conditions are getting a bit easier, which means it's simpler for businesses to borrow and expand. And third, you and me. People are still shopping. Despite all the uncertainty, consumers are really the ones keeping the economy humming. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Investment is the key driver of resilience. The amount of money pouring into AI and other technologies is now so big that it's actually lifting the entire global economy. It's a total game changer. But you knew this was coming. It's not all good news. Let's look at the other side of the story, the risks that are keeping economists up at night. Okay. The number one worry? You guessed it, inflation. The hope is that it will keep cooling down and get back to normal. But the fear, the big one, is that it could flare up again, especially in the services sector. Things like restaurants, travel, healthcare. If that happens, central banks might have to slam on the brakes by raising interest rates again, and that could definitely put the economy at risk. And it's not just inflation. You've got this whole minefield of other risks. Trade tensions could snarl supply chains and jack up prices. The wild swings in financial and crypto markets could spark chaos. Governments are buried in debt, and that super strong job market we've had, it's starting to show some cracks. Any one of these is a problem on its own, but you put them together, and you could be looking at a perfect storm. Of course, this whole story of growth versus risk plays out really differently depending on where you are in the world. The global average just doesn't tell the whole story. So let's zoom in a bit and see who's booming and who's, well, lagging behind. And yeah, this slide makes that divergence crystal clear. Just looked at India, projected to grow at a massive 6.4%. The ASEAN 5 countries, we're talking Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand, they're also flying high at over 4%. These regions are really becoming the new powerhouses. Now compare that to the US at 2%, the Euro area at a pretty sluggish 1.2%, and Japan at just 0.5%. It is absolutely a tale of two economies. So with this really tricky mix of good news and bad, what's the playbook? How can our leaders steer the economy through these, let's face it, very choppy waters? Well, the OECD has laid out a 4-point plan to navigate this. First, stabilize trade. Make the rules clear and predictable. Second, bring inflation down, but do it gently without crushing the economy. Third, keep a much closer eye on financial markets to prevent another crisis. And fourth, get a handle on government debt with some serious long-term plans. At the end of the day, it's all about creating stability in a pretty unstable world.
So we end right back where we started with this fundamental question. Is this a steady, solid recovery, or is it just a fragile balance that's waiting to be broken? Will the power of innovation and all of us spending money be enough to carry us through? Or will the weight of inflation, debt, and global tensions pull us down? The story of 2026 is still being written, and, well, the whole world is watching to see how it unfolds.